SA 600 using the work of another auditor. Now you already know these definitions: principal auditor, other auditor, component. These definitions you already know. Purpose of SA 600. See, the SA 600's purpose is to establish standards when principal auditor uses to decide the other auditor's work. Okay, how there should be coordination between principal auditor and other auditor, and what communications has to be there between principal auditor and other auditor, and what should be considered by principal auditor when he decides to use the work of other auditor. All these aspects, with respect to all these aspects, SA 600 will establish standards. Now, what matter should be considered by principal auditor while he accepts the audit of consolidated financial statements? Let us see. Materiality of a portion of financial information which the principal auditor audits. Now, in the consolidated financial statements, components financial statements will also be included, which will be audited by component auditor. Now, apart from that component financial statements, how much of the CFS should be audited by the principal auditor? So that materiality needs to be considered. Next, principal auditor's degree of knowledge regarding business of components should also be considered. Next, risk of material misstatement in the financial information of the components audited by other auditor. Okay, what is the risk of material misstatement in the financial statements that are audited by component auditor? Next, the performance of additional procedures as set out in this SA should also be considered by the principal auditor before he accepts the work. Next, principal auditor's procedures. What procedures principal auditor will perform? He will visit component and he will examine books of accounts of the component. He will consider professional competence of other auditor. Now, other auditor has audited the component financial statements. Whether the other auditor is capable and what knowledge the other auditor is having, the competency of the other auditor will be considered by the principal auditor. He will perform procedures to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence that work of other auditor is adequate for principal auditor purposes. The other auditor, he has audited the components, but whether that work which other auditor has performed is useful for the purposes of the principal auditor or not, this also will be checked. Next, the principal auditor, he will discuss with the other auditor with respect to what procedures other auditor has performed in the audit of component financial statements. Next, principal auditor should consider significant findings of other auditor. Next, communication by principal auditor with other auditor. See, there should be proper liaison between principal auditor and other auditor. Liaison means proper coordination. Now, principal auditor may find it necessary to issue written communication to the other auditor. Okay, principal auditor can communicate with the other auditor through written communication. Principal auditor should advise other auditor of matters that may come to his attention that he thinks are necessary for the purpose of audit of other auditor. Okay, now principal auditor, while conducting his audit of CFS, if he finds any matter and if he feels that this matter is necessary for the purpose of audit of component auditor, then principal auditor has to communicate this matter to the other auditor. Next, the principal auditor may require the other auditor to answer a detailed questionnaire regarding matters on which principal auditor requires information. Okay, if in case the principal auditor prepares any questionnaire, then the other auditor has to answer those questionnaire. Next, coordination of work of other auditor and the principal auditor. Now, the other auditor, if at all he finds any significant findings, he needs to communicate them to the principal auditor. Okay, communicate the significant findings. Next, other auditor should follow the timetable, that is within the given time limit he should complete the audit of component. Next, ensure compliance with relevant statutory requirements. Okay, other auditor should comply with all the statutory requirements, and if in case the principal auditor has sent any questionnaire, the other auditor should answer that questionnaire. Okay. Next, division of responsibility. Now, principal auditor would not be responsible in respect of work entrusted to the other auditor. Okay, the other auditor is responsible for the audit of component. So, with respect to audit of component, principal auditor will not have any responsibility. Now, except in circumstance which should have aroused suspicion about the reliability of work performed by the other auditors. However, if principal auditor gets any suspicion with respect to the work that is done by the other auditor, then with respect to that work where there is a chance of occurrence of suspicion, okay, with respect to that work, the principal auditor will also be responsible. Okay, just by seeing itself you can find out that there is misstatement in the components financial statements, but principal auditor has kept silent because the components financial statements responsibility is not the responsibility of principal auditor. This should not be done. Okay, if there is a chance of arose of suspicion and even then you kept silent, then the principal auditor will also be responsible with respect to that work, even though that work has been allocated to other auditor. Okay, next, when principal auditor has to base his opinion on the financial information on the entity as a whole, he can make a reference to the point that there is a division of work that has been done, wherein in the consolidated financial statements components financial statements have also been included, and the responsibility to audit component financial statements lies with other auditor. Like this, he can mention the division of responsibility for the financial information of the entity by indicating extent to which financial information of component audited by other auditor. Okay, how you will quantify percentage of asset, percentage of liability. Okay, this much percentage of total assets have been audited by component auditor, this much percentage of total revenue is audited by component auditor. Like this, you have to quantify and you can refer to the fact that there is a division of responsibility. Next, reporting considerations. When principal auditor concludes that work of other auditor cannot be used and unable to perform additional procedures regarding financial information of the component audited by other auditor, then the principal auditor should express qualified opinion or disclaimer of opinion. See, the principal auditor, he is not able to use the work of other auditor, and also he is not able to obtain audit evidence with respect to the component by performing alternate procedures. In this situation, he is not having audit evidence, and if the misstatement is material, he will give qualified. If at all there are any misstatements and those misstatements will be material as well as pervasive, he will give disclaimer of opinion. Okay, now in all circumstances, if other auditor issues or intends to issue modified audit report, the principal auditor should consider whether subject of modification is of such nature and significance that it requires modification in principal auditor reports also. Now, if component auditor in his audit report on component has given modified opinion, then principal auditor should consider whether modification given by the component auditor is of such a significance and is of such an importance that the principal auditor should also modify his opinion on the CFS. He needs to consider it before giving opinion on the consolidated financial statements. Okay, so by this we have completed revision of SA 600 also. Okay, we have completed revision of group audit and SA 600. Before winding up the class, there is a small announcement. We have launched Lecturepedia app. On this app, you can solve MCQs of all the subjects of CA Final, CA Inter and CA Foundation. And on this app, you can also purchase classes of various faculties. Okay, you can download this Lecturepedia app from Play Store. And we'll meet in the next revision class. Until then, take care. Bye bye. See you.